game ideas that are floating around within the company that we just don't have time or resources to do, and so we'll consider those. We'll consider, whether any of our existing franchises are the most desirable setting for a new game, and if they are, of course, we would love to use those settings like we did before with Warcraft, of course.
And when you say most desirable, you mean most economically viable?
No, I mean, sometimes one of our existing universes that has been very fleshed out, that's very deep with characters and very rich and has a connection to our players, sometimes those settings will work perfectly with a new genre or game idea. You can just see it, how it will work. And sometimes you look at the existing franchises and you say, actually, there are some limitations with the existing universes that maybe it would be better setting it in a completely different world. So that really hasn't happened very frequently, but it's the process that we go through.
Can you talk about, I'm not sure if you can talk to the public about that, but any of the ideas that you've done totally along the way, any of the crazy concepts that came up?
Actually, we have talked about some of the canceled games that we have started over the years. Prior to working on StarCraft, we were working on a game called Nomad. It was never announced, but we did start working on it. We started developing this sort of post-apocalyptic universe that was going to be the setting for this game. I'm sorry, this was after StarCraft. This was right after we worked on StarCraft. We started working on this game, Nomad. And a little while into it, we looked at it and we said, it's just not really doing it for us. There are a lot of problems, not only with the world design, but the gameplay is not really coming together. If we were going to start up a new project right now, today, what project would we work on? Would we work on Nomad, or would we work on something else? And we all said, we would work on something else. And we said, well, what would that be? And it was like unanimous. We would do a massively multiplayer Warcraft game. So we said, well, why aren't we doing that? So, there you go. That happens probably more than we talk about. But we're not at all close to working on new franchises. We're not close to, you saw with StarCraft Ghost that we did start an attempt on it as creating a console game, and we picked the StarCraft universe as the universe we thought would work the best for that game, StarCraft Ghost. And then as we're developing it, we found, it was a situation where World of Warcraft was completely taking off, sucking all kinds of resources. We had StarCraft 2 in development, we had Diablo 3 in development, and StarCraft Ghost was going to need a lot of time and energy, resources to get it to where it needed to be. And from a prioritizing our resources and time standpoint, you can imagine if the StarCraft Ghost team is going out and looking for a 3D artist and finds one, and the World of Warcraft team is looking for a 3D artist and finds the same one, guess which one gets it? So that was happening a lot to the StarCraft Ghost team. And so until we finally said, hey, now is not the right time, we cannot put the right resources against this project because it's not our top priority right now. And so we took... See, I'm filling time because nobody's asking questions.
Oh, actually, I was wondering, isn't it more or less common knowledge now, or only just a rumor, that if you would announce a new next generation MMO game, that this would be a new intellectual property? That's what I've been thinking a lot. Is it just wishful thinking, or any comments on that?
I don't think we've announced any details at all about the new MMO,
But
other than
if
there
you
is
would announce one.
See, those types of questions are like, if you would make an announcement, what it would be. And then that would be an announcement. So, no comment on the new MMO other than that we have started working on it. There is a small team of very experienced Blizzard developers with some very experienced people at high levels of responsibility from the World of Warcraft team that are starting to work on something new.
But I guess it's still too early that you're probably not 100% sure when and if you're going to announce it anyway, because as you said earlier, if a new project doesn't meet certain expectations or a lot of priorities come up. But again, sooner or later, I mean, what we're probably going to do it for another 10 years at least, but, one day.
Right, except that since I've told you about it, it's sort of announcing that the project exists, so if the project were to somehow not exist, it would have to announce that.
Rick Holmes from Metal Magazine in Sweden. After achieving successful RTS games, what made you decide to go to the MMO world?
So it kind of comes back to each game we started on an open slate. We don't view ourselves as an RTS company or an MMO company or a PC company or even a console company back when we were only making console games. We were just a game company that wanted to make the best games we could on the existing platforms, whatever those are. Right now, our focus is primarily PC Online. What will it be in 20 years? I don't know. And so, at the time, and even going back before we had released all of these real-time strategy games, we kind of had this idea that eventually, there would be some convergence between games and virtual reality and high-end multimedia entertainment, and it was just too early when we started. In the early 90s, the technology wasn't there to be able to do things like that. And while we were working on StarCraft, that changed. Ultima came out and proved that you could actually create a massively multiplayer fantasy world. EverQuest came out, and a lot of people at Blizzard, were starting to get really into that genre. And so we came back to this idea, that we had, even when we released the first work on Warcraft Orcs and Humans, that, hey, one of these days we would really love to bring the World of Warcraft to life so that you could be a character within the universe of Warcraft and be able to go around and explore the lands of Azeroth and have, with other players, and, that whole thing. And so that was kind of an idea that was always percolating. And just around that time, 1998, 1999 is when it really started to be feasible.
World of Warcraft has exceeded expectations, I think, by anyone's standard. And I was lucky enough to go visit your offices yesterday. And talking to people and visiting the site, it seemed to me that the company and its employees stays very grounded when there was a huge, chance for everyone's head to explode. How do you manage to keep people grounded? Because I'm guessing it comes from management. Maybe you'll tell me it doesn't. But how do you manage to keep people grounded when there's such an immense success in the company?
I think there's probably multiple factors. One is we keep each other grounded. I mean, we don't, big heads won't really do that well. It's a team effort. It really is a team effort. You hear us say it all the time, but it is a team effort. And we have very strong leads that are extremely talented, but they know that they can't do something as complex as World of Warcraft or massive expansion without enormous teams of dedicated, passionate people. Let's see.
But that would be true in any company, that they couldn't do it.
Yes.
But you realize it. I guess your leads know that. How come they know that and other people need to know?
That I couldn't really answer. But I guess just to comment on another aspect of achieving this level of success, that we're really fortunate to